नमस्कार दोस्तों, NTA NET English and this quiz marathon part 3 we are discussing some important questions that may be asked writers and text and some important we can say concepts, and I am also providing some extra information with each question. So it's not just looking at the question and the answer, but we are trying to find out as much as possible related with the important text. And I hope this short review, these 5 questions in each class may give you a comprehensive view about the great works of the 20th century. So without wasting any more time in introduction, let's roll to our first question of the day. The famous American novel based on a murder trial whose protagonist, Clyde Griffiths, accidentally kills his beloved. Now, it is a very popular work of the American literature of the 20th century, and I must tell you side by side that in this novel, actually the protagonist plans to murder his beloved, but at the last moment he decides not to carry forward his plan, but as fate decides, she basically dies, and the protagonist has a role in this particular murder, and there is an investigation and a very curious case of, we can say, cruel destiny. So our options are The Ambassadors by Henry James, An American Tragedy by Theodore Dreiser, Another Country by James Baldwin, and The Beautiful and Damned by F. Scott Fitzgerald. Now, dear friends, you all know that these 4, and they especially Henry James and F. Scott Fitzgerald, they are, we can say, the pioneers of modern fiction and pioneers of American modern novels. Now, if we talk about Ambassadors, you know very well the themes with which Henry James writes. He writes about the Americans in Europe and the Europeans in America, and their we can say their interaction and cultural clash. Another Country, on the other hand, by James Baldwin, it explores the relationship between friends, lovers, and family of jazz drummer Rufus Scott, and the most of the novel take place after the suicide of this famous jazz and black drummer Rufus Scott. And if we talk about The Beautiful and Damned by F. Scott Fitzgerald, you know that Fitzgerald was writing, he is one of those about whom it is said that they belong to the last generation. He also, we can say, coincide with the jazz age, the age after during the war period, and there was lot of frills and fames. And this particular novel deals and it portrays New York cafe culture and society, the American Eastern elite during the jazz age. The novel which we have not discussed in these 4 options is the correct answer. Yes, dear friend, it is one of the defining novel of American literature, An American Tragedy by Theodore Dreiser. This single work put him into the league of extraordinary writers of American fiction, and this novel created a sensation when it was first published. Moving ahead to our second question, you have to match the novels with their themes, or we can say single line summary. Kingsley Amis, what should I say about this man? He is loved by so many people of the generation of 70s and 80s because of his witty portrayal of the English society, his satirical take on different cultural related things, and that is why all his works have been quite popular. So the 4 novels which I have taken for consideration at this time is, first is One Fat Englishman, which was published quite late in his age. The Anti-Death League, one of his philosophical novel and great, we can say, showing his potential as a writer of philosophical fiction. The Alteration, it is also a fantasy, and one of the most popular works by Kingsley Amis, that is The Old Devil. and now you have to match with these, and there are options like A, B, C, D. And before going to the right answer, let us match these writers. One, this old Englishman. It is about an English academic. He is on a holiday, a sabbatical in America. Anti-Death League. Anti-Death League, it is about metaphysical speculation about God's existence in form of a spy story, something very new. The Alteration, it is a dystopian work, fantasy describing Europe if Reformation hadn't happened and the old devils, where four friends meet after a long time and they think about, they ruminate about their youth time, how they spend it, and such a a novel of nostalgia. So the right option is one, fat Englishman, C, and then D for the second, and then for third it is A, and fourth it is B. Now moving ahead with our next question. Anglosexual Attitudes. It is a powerful study of the falsehood inherent in the British people's concept of themselves through the story of an excavation of a tomb in Suffolk. Who is the novelist of this very, very popular novel? Now, my dear friends, this novel, when it published, it was basically based on a real incident when there were some ruins found at Suffolk site, and this gave this novelist the idea to write about Anglosexual attitudes, because these Anglo-Saxon race is considered to be the real ancestor of the modern English people. The writers in contention for this answer are C.P. Snow, one of the very controversial figures of the early 20th century. Kingsley Amis, we have already talked about his satirical take on different things. Angus Wilson, not so much talked about writer, but a very, we can say, laconic writer. And Martin Amis. Martin Amis is son of Kingsley Amis, and in himself, we can say, a great literary writer whose works have also created sensation. Now, the correct answer, my dear friend, for this answer is Angus Wilson, and it is one of his, more better known works of Angus Wilson, though he has written some other very popular collection of stories and essay. I suggest that you should check on him. He is also a writer we generally ignore in our studies, but who is very important. Okay. Moving ahead with our next question, which among these is not correctly matched pair of an anthology and the editor or editors? Dear friends, I must tell you here that sometimes, in whether we can say the stress or the excitement or the overconfidence, we tend to basically overlook the framing of the question, which can put us into, we can say, an unfortunate condition. I know many of my co-learners who commit this mistake of not reading the question correctly. So please always give your full attention on the wording. Here it is said, which is not correctly matched pair of an anthology and the editors. Okay, the anthology, first is Wheels, and the editors are Sitwell siblings. It is both brother and sister. Then we have New Signatures, and we have the editor Michael Roberts. Then we have an Objectivists Anthology, and the editor is Louis Jukovsky. And last is Active Anthology, and editor given here is J.F. Henry. So dear friends, both first three, Wheels, yes, the editors were Sitwells. New Signatures, the editor was Michael Roberts. And Objectivists Anthology, the editor was Louis Jukovsky. Active Anthology, it is the correct answer, because the real editor of Active Anthology was none other than Ezra Pound. So please also remember this. The answer is Ezra Pound for Active Anthology. And what was the name of the anthology, which was edited by J.F. Henry? It is The New Apocalypse. The New Apocalypse. It is edited by J.F. Henry. Okay, moving to the last question of the day, regarded on the time of its publication as an immoral book because of its frank depiction of sex, drugs, and birth control. This novel by Aldous Huxley may be taken as his comic take on the dislocation of social values. We all know the signature style of Aldous Huxley, how he is also a satirical writer who very deeply, layer by layer, he peeled the society's covers and expose all its inner contradictions and its falsehood. So the novels in the options are The Doors of Perception, Chrome Yellow, Antique Hay, and Ape and Essence. Out of these four, let me tell you, The Doors of Perception, it is not exactly a novel because it is sort of an autobiographical thing in which he presents his own experiences of hallucinating drugs. Chrome Yellow, Antique Hay, and Ape and Essence. Among these, it is obviously the answer is Antique Hay, and its protagonist, the hero of this particular novel, that is also important. It is Theodore Gumbriel Jr. Theodore Gumbriel Jr. It is his journey which is depicted in this novel, and it is also a very popular work. It is also, we can say, a typical work of Huxley in which his insight into the ills of society are beautifully depicted. So dear friend, it was all with this particular session of the 5 questions. I hope you are enjoying and you are finding these questions worthy of your time on the YouTube, and I am really humbled by your encouragement, and I would try to come up with your expectations like always. Thank you, friends.